Parents, have you ever noticed that no one in the conventional healthcare system ever asks why or even makes an attempt to find the root cause and discuss natural solutions with you? They just slap on a label, hand over a prescription, and send families on their way. This especially happens with autism, with ADHD, with anxiety, sensory processing disorder, oppositional defiance disorder. And sometimes it's the same exact thing in the natural or holistic health world, with Lyme disease, with MTHFR, with COMT, PANS, PANDAS, POTS, all too often leaving patients or parents feeling like they're stuck with that condition and that label now for life. Now that list goes on, but none of them actually answer the question that every parent or every patient is desperately asking. What's really going on with my child? Because labels don't heal. They don't calm the chaos. They don't help kids sleep. They don't help kids speak or smile again. But that's exactly what today's system is handing out. Labels instead of answers. Diagnoses instead of direction. It's time that we flip the script. So let's start with a statistic that should absolutely shock you. 40% of children today are living with at least one chronic health condition. And other research sadly shows that it's above 50%. So 1 in 2 kids are chronically sick. That's simply not okay. It means that nearly half of all kids are dealing with conditions like autism, ADHD, allergies, asthma, anxiety, autoimmune conditions, or other ongoing health or neurodevelopmental challenges. This represents an unprecedented health crisis that somehow wasn't making headlines until just recently, when thankfully people like Bobby Kennedy and others started to speak up and take action. And even more concerning is that a meta-analysis of multiple studies shows that the number of youths receiving antipsychotic medications has increased from 50% to 200% over the last 20 years. We're not just seeing more sick kids, we're seeing more kids being medicated at younger and younger ages. This path to medication dependency starts with one thing: a diagnosis and a label. The way that conventional medicine works, once they put that label on your child, the medication is the next automatic step. They don't explore root causes. They don't talk about nutrition. They don't talk about birth trauma. They don't offer natural nervous system focused drug-free options. And they don't even pretend to actually address the issue. They just cover it up like a Band-Aid with medications. So let's talk about the good and the bad of diagnoses and labels. So diagnoses can actually be helpful. It's something that I talk about with my parents all of the time if they're concerned or curious about getting their child assessed and evaluated. Because what comes from that is access to services. Now a formal diagnosis can unlock school-based supports like IEPs, like speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA, and accommodations that may otherwise be denied. There's the insurance and state coverage because many therapies, equipment, and interventions require a diagnosis code for health insurance or state programs to be able to pay for them. There's the legitimacy and the validation because having a diagnosis can help families communicate the needs to teachers, to employers, to medical providers without constant re-explaining. There's also a structured support pathway. A diagnosis can actually connect families to specific programs, to funding and community resources that they didn't know existed. But here's how diagnoses and labels can limit kids' potentials. There's an identity shift to broken because kids and parents can start to see the diagnosis as who they are, not what they have, creating a fixed mindset and lowering belief in their ability to heal and grow. Like autistic versus a child with autism. There's the victim mentality. Labels can unintentionally teach children to expect less of themselves, assume that they can't change, and rely on others for solutions instead of building resilience. This oftentimes starts the medication dependency cycle because a diagnosis often becomes the ticket to long-term prescriptions, where the focus shifts to symptom management rather than root cause healing. And with labels and diagnoses, there's a narrow lens of care, because providers may focus only on the treatments related to that label, ignoring the holistic or even the upstream causes. So if you're tired of just getting more and more labels and then more and more medications, and you want to learn more about neurologically focused chiropractic care and how it may be able to help you, your child, and your family, simply click the link within our bio, comment below, or send our office a DM to be able to learn more.